Alright, so here's my Hackintosh versus Mac Pro 2013 guide towards people that don't really understand what a Hackintosh is. This is just a quick presentation of benefits for having a Hackintosh or Custo Mac over a Mac Pro 2013 model, or even other models, presented by Tytech. First thing is cost. When we look at the Custo Mac is so much better in price. The very baseline Mac Pro 2013 starts out at $5,199 when you can get a Custo Mac that has a 2011 socket Intel Xeon 6-core processor running at just about the same clock speed, but you could probably do a little bit of overclocking, and the exact same RAM, 32 gigabytes, but 32 gigabytes of 1866 megahertz RAM leaves you at $2,335.91. So much better. Then if we go and we look at the price for an 8-core on the Mac Pro side, again with 32 gigs of RAM, the Mac Pro 2013 gets a significant jump. So it is at $6,699. That is ridiculous, to be honest with you. But anyways, the Custo Mac here has an Intel Xeon as well. It also has 32 gigabytes of RAM at 1866 megahertz. Oh, and I didn't say all these have 1 tera. The Custo Mac has a 1 terabyte SSD configuration, and the Mac Pro has its 1 terabyte of flash. Of course, the flash is going to be a lot faster than an SSD because the SSD is having to run through a controller and SATA cables when the flash RAM is soldered straight to the motherboard, and it's so much quicker. Anyways, now moving on to the Mac Pro 2013 with a 12-core and the highest upgrade you can possibly get. This is not including a monitor or keyboard or mouse or anything like that. It is at $9,599. That's crazy. It's over $4,300 more expensive than the Custo Mac. Now, the Custo Mac, I found a Intel Xeon 12-core at 3 gigahertz, I believe. No, it was 2.7 gigahertz, and I added it to the card on Newegg, and 64 gigabytes of RAM. I believe I went with the Corsair Dominator Platinum at 1866 megahertz or 2133 megahertz. Not 100% sure, but it came out to be a lot cheaper anyways. $5,000.32, or $5,032.90. Sorry. All right, next. First, we have the pros and cons of a Custo Mac. The pros of a Custo Mac is you have full customizability for your computer. This means you can pick the case you want, you can pick a Blu-ray drive, even though the Mac operating system does not have native support for Blu-ray codecs on disk. But anyways, it doesn't matter because there's other programs that you can download from the App Store to watch your Blu-ray content. Besides that, you can upgrade your RAM easier, you can have water cooling if you wanted to, you could do overclocking, you can have 3 video cards. Really, there's no point in having 3 video cards in a Custo Mac, mainly because the Custo Mac, it only benefits from 1 card, but the only way you're going to get the awesomeness of like having 2 cards is if you're trying to have like 6 displays. Also, you wouldn't even have to bother with that if you just get 1 card that can support 6 displays. But anyways, another benefit is you can add any components you want, such as FireWire cards or more USB 3.0 cards. This is more geared towards people that need additional hardware, people that do recordings for YouTube, people that have like a music studio and need a lot of ways to record music and a lot more connections to their computer. Most connections for studios, there's FireWire. And I have built a Custo Mac for my brother-in-law, and his is for making music and music production. He really likes it. He's in love with his computer. His is a lot older, though. I believe his is I think it has an Intel Core i7 2600. It's not even a 2600K. I can't overclock it or anything, but it's got 8 gigs of RAM. I believe the 2600 is clocked at 3.2, 3.3 gigahertz. I'm not sure, but anyways, his computer runs really smooth with Mac OS X 10.9.2 Mavericks. You also save a ton of money. That's the #1 key point here. Great support for Custo Mac on TonyMacX86.com. TonyMacX86 is where I go for all my Custo Mac needs. Downloads, you can go to their guides, read through their guides, see exactly how you can install it if you want to. If you're interested in building this, I definitely recommend going to TonyMacX86.com. So now on to the cons. You do not get Apple support. I'm sorry, if your computer breaks and it won't boot, you're on your own. You have to troubleshoot it yourself. There's no Apple support. You cannot take it to Apple and say, hey, can you fix this? They'll look at you funny. You cannot use Boot Camp app, so if you are looking to install Windows or another OS on your Mac, this isn't your choice. If you're a user that uses Boot Camp to install another operating system, like let's say if you're a Mac user and you really like Mac, but you also need to use Windows applications, like let's say you like PowerPoint or something better, or if you want access to Visual Studio or something like that, you will not be able to do that. Now, there are guides also on TonyMacX86 where you can partition your drive correctly to have the Windows 8.1 partition, and then you can also have Mac OS X running on another partition. Our best way I've done it is just install it on 2 separate drives, buy 2 separate drives for it. Updates are easy on the Mac, on the Custo Mac. I've noticed with my encounters, I can go to the software update. I can click on an update and I can do the update, and I've never had it break on boot up after I restart the computer from doing a major update. The only thing I do is I lose audio and networking, but all you got to do is run multibeast, reinstall your KEX for your audio and networking, and restart again, and you're good to go. One of the cons to a Custo Mac is you have to pay attention to the hardware you choose. Not all hardware is compatible with it. I know certain AMD cards will not give you a boot screen if you have a lower 2000 series or so integrated graphics on your CPU. I've noticed that it doesn't boot all the time. I had that same problem with my brother-in-law's. I was trying to use just a CPU graphics to boot, and I looked it up and it's not compatible. So you got to make sure if you're looking at getting a lower end CPU or an older CPU, you might have to look into getting a GTX 650 or 650 Ti, 670. Go for a cheaper graphics card. But I recommend all NVIDIA. Alright, so let's move on. More about the Custo Mac. A Custo Mac is a PC assembled with your choice of hardware, but then you install the Mac OS X 10.9.2 operating system on it. This is great. This is a great thing to look into if you want a Mac, but you do not want to dump a lot of money on a Mac from Apple. This was figured out because most people want the Mac OS, but they do not agree with the components put into the Macs. This also allows for people that need extra expansion to expand on USB ports, RAID cards, RAM, CPU, hard drives, or even SSD space, more graphics cards as well. If you haven't looked at the new Mac Pro 2013 model, there's only one thing you can change in that computer, and it's the RAM. That's what I've noticed so far from it, but I'm not going to lie, the new Mac Pro 2013 looks very nice. Okay, so I left in some information about the Mac Pro. I don't think I'm going to read all this. I'm just going to go skim over some stuff. The Mac Pro has, I believe, 6 Thunderbolt 2.0 ports. Just a minute. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to pull up the specs for you real quick. Let's see. Mac Pro. Gotta find this Mac Pro. Let's go to Apple's webpage. And let's go to tech specs. I love looking at tech specs. Alright, there is a quad-core Mac Pro, there is a 6-core Mac Pro, and there's also an available 12-core Mac Pro, but they've only got the quad-core and the 6-core. Okay, so I'm going to read over the 6-core because that's where I start off in this presentation. You get a 3.5 gigahertz 6-core Intel Xeon E5 with 12 megabytes of L3 cache and turbo boost up to 3.9 gigahertz. Memory. It also says here on Apple's page, user accessible. Which is funny because I just told you the only thing you could pretty much change and upgrade is the RAM. You have 16 gigs of DDR3 ECC memory, 16 gigs, 4 gig sticks of 1866 megahertz DDR3 ECC memory. The Mac Pro 2013 is configurable to 32 gigs or 4 8 gig sticks for 64 gig. It does have the dual AMD FirePro D500 graphics processors. The D500s have 3 gigabytes of GDDR5 VRAM each, 1,526 stream processors, 384-bit wide memory bus, 240 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth, and 2.2 teraflops of performance. You can also configure this to the AMD FirePro D700s, with each having 6 gigs of GDDR5 VRAM and 2,048 stream processors at 384 bits, and this gives you 264 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth. You do have 6 Thunderbolt. It supports up to 6 Thunderbolt displays. R3 4K displays, so that's very nice. Storage at the baseline, it comes with 256 gigs of PCIe based flash storage. It's also configurable to 512 or 1 terabyte. The audio is combined optical digital audio output analog line out. It has a headphone mini with headset support, HDMI port, supports multi-channel audio output, and built-in speaker. Connections and expansions. This is the only expansions you got. You have 4 USB 3.0s, you have 6 Thunderbolt 2.0s, you have dual gigabit Ethernet, and an HDMI 1.4 Ultra HD port. That's all. Although this does have a 802.11ac wireless card in it, it also has Bluetooth 4.0 wireless technology, so if you wanted to get one of those magic mice, or if you wanted to get the Apple wireless keyboard, it'll work. Probably not going to go over this unless you want to know the maximum altitude, but other than that, the operating system that comes on it is OS X Mavericks version 10.9, and that's pretty much about it on the specs of the Mac Pro. Now I go over the CustoMac a little bit. If you want to read this, because I've already gone over a little bit, you can pause it and read this if you want. Next, Mac OS X Mavericks. Again, I'm not going to read all this, but the Mac OS X, I will go over this because I think it's interesting. I love programming. This is the latest OS from Apple. It is an operating system based on the Unix operating system and written in C and Objective-C. Also, iOS 7.1 is written with these programming languages, and the iOS operating system is based exactly from the Mac OS. Anyways, this is a badass operating system. Just wanted to exaggerate on that. Mac OS X brings 200 plus changes. I list my top 10 favorite ones out. You can pause this. You can start reading. It starts right here on this page, and then goes on to my number 1. And next, TyTech. I want to tell you a little bit about TyTech. TyTech is a little company that I started up, that me and my cousin have started up here in Arlington, Texas. We're a small business that has been started to provide excellent service to people in Arlington, Mansfield, Kennedale, and Fort Worth. Also, Dallas, Grand Prairie, Grapevine, anywhere in this area, in the Dallas Metroplex area. If you are not in this area, please contact us and we will get you taken care of. We build high-end gaming computers to people looking for one. We provide great service to small companies with working and maintaining their computers. If you are interested in getting a Custo Mac, Hackintosh, look no further than TyTech for any technology needs. Check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/TyTechComputers. If you are interested, please use our contact information on our Facebook page. We would love to start building computers for everybody out here in the Dallas area. For one, if you get a Custo Mac built from us, we will maintain it. We will, if you have a problem with it, if you do an update and you can't figure out how to install your audio or your audio or networking, we will come help you out with that, and we will try to get to you as quickly as possible. We are trying to back this up to where we can have each computer, even though they're customly built, we're going to have our own personal 2-year warranty on them. But other than that, that's the end of this presentation, and thank you.